Somatics for the head and neck. This practice helps to free the muscles in the head and neck, generating a greater sense of mobility and comfort. We'll begin with a neck test. So coming, leaning back onto your hands with the knees bent and the feet flat. And gradually start to tilt your head backwards, just to see how far you can come. Not going into any pain, just noticing how much comfort you have to tilt the head backwards to look up to the ceiling. Trying it just a couple of times. Registering, becoming aware of where your comfort line is in your tilt back, maybe even noticing a point on the ceiling that you can relate to. Storing that point in your mind. And then we'll unusually turn the attention to the feet. So we'll work on the right leg first. We're going to do some foot slides. So you'll lengthen out the right heel, sliding it long, reaching the heel away and lifting the toes, curling slowly each toe over so the bottom of the foot becomes tight. We're releasing in the toes, sliding the foot back up. Once the foot is placed, you'll peel the toes up to point to the ceiling and slowly release them. So we'll take it a couple more times, lengthening out that leg along, reaching with the heel, curling the toes over and round, releasing the curl, sliding the heel back up. Once placed, you'll peel the toes up towards the ceiling. Taking it one more time on this side, lengthen the heel, curl the toes, slide the foot, and lift up. Perfect. Swapping to the other foot this time, so lengthening out the other heel, reaching, curling, releasing, sliding, peeling up. Doing it twice more here, so slowly and smoothly as you possibly can. This is a movement that is useful to do even when you're seated. Sliding up. You've taken 3 on both sides. Settle back. And coming up into a more comfortable seated position when you're ready. And the legs to be wherever you are most comfortable. Spine nice and upright. We'll take a very gentle movement for the neck, and it works in a systematic way. So turning your head away from your right shoulder. So turning your head to the left, away from your right shoulder. You'll pick up the right shoulder and tilt the head back to meet the shoulder behind you. Slowly, slowly letting the shoulder down and dropping the head, and then turning to neutral. So doing it step by step, turning away, picking up the shoulder to meet the back of the head, and the head to meet the shoulder. Squeezing, slowly releasing. Once the shoulder is relaxed and the head's at neutral, you'll turn back to the front. One more time on this side. Turning away, drawing the two together, squeezing in, slowly lengthening down and away, returning back to neutral. Taking it the other way this time, so turning away from the left shoulder, joining, looking up a little as the shoulder joins the back of the head. Slowly lowering, turning back to neutral. Twice more this time. So depending on where the stiffness lies within your shoulder, depends on how challenging the movement can be. Not going into any pain at any point. Back to a neutral position. Making any movements for your shoulders or your neck that you may need to make. And then we'll take an unusual position for the feet as well. So bending the front knee and tucking the left back behind you. You're going to reach, if the right knee is the one that's bent in front of you, you'll reach the right hand behind you onto the floor. Bringing up the left to rest on the chest. As you inhale, you'll begin a rotation in the pelvis to look over the shoulders, starting at lifting in the hips. So lifting in the left hip, rotate the body round to look over the right shoulder, keeping the spine nice and upright. And then exhale, coming back. So aim to feel that movement coming from the hip to begin with. It rotates and spirals like a corkscrew all the way up through the spine, and then de-spirals to come back. Starting in the pelvis, rotate the body round, looking over the shoulder. Head turns first, shoulder drops, hip comes down. So one more time. Rotating round, head comes out, shoulder comes back, hip drops down. So we'll take it another way this time, so lifting in the hip and rotating round in the same way as we've just done. And then once you get to that position, you're going to pause and stay there. Keep the body in that twist, but turn the head, keeping the body where it is. So turn the head away from you to look in its maximum position in the other direction. And back in. And this is where the tricky bit comes. You're going to start to rotate your head in the opposite direction to the body. So start to move the body round and looking over the shoulder. And then as the body rotates up and back, the head will turn the other way. So as the body rotates to the front, the head will look over the shoulder behind you, and then we'll reverse the movement, and the head goes the other way. So as always, keep the back of the neck nice and long, chin tucked in, rotating the head on its axis rather than lifting and tilting the head back. And then as you come back to neutral, pausing there, we'll stack up the legs in the opposite direction. So this time, bringing the left leg to the front, tucking the right behind. Stopping the left hand to the floor. Right hand to the chest. You'll begin the rotation in the hips. So that simpler version, lifting in the hip first. That rotation travels up through the spine, corkscrewing the chest. You'll look the head over the shoulder, the head comes back, the shoulder drops, the hip comes down. So make it a very sequential movement. Hip, into pelvis, into shoulder, into head. Head, shoulder, pelvis, hip. Taking it one more time, rotating in the body as much as you are able, turning to look over that shoulder, coming back out. And then this time when you come in, you're going to stay in the position. So rotate from the pelvis, hip lifts, you rotate all the way around. Keep the body where it is, and then just turn in the head. So exhaling, turning the head to face the front, rotating all the way around. Keeping that head on that upright axis so that you're not tilting one way or another. And the next time you look over the shoulder, the body will move one way and the head will move the other. So as your head comes to the front, your body rotates away. And then as your body rotates away, the head moves towards the front. So again, aiming to keep that central axis of the head rotating in its center. And then when you've completed the round that you are on, come back to center. You can release the legs and we'll briefly make a visit to the floor. So coming down to lying on the back with your knees bent and your feet flat to the ground. Bring the hands to the back of the head and interlocking the fingers nice and low on the back of the head. We'll take an arch and curl, but with a staggered release. So as you inhale and arch, this time you'll press the elbows down, arch the lower back. As you exhale and flatten, as usual, we'll draw the elbows towards one another, peel that chin to chest and curl into center. But this time you'll inhale just a little, opening the elbows. You'll pause, exhale, soften the shoulders. Inhale a little more, coming down a little more. Exhale, pause, soften, ease the back of the neck. And then gradually, bit by bit, inhaling, opening, exhale, softening. It's as though with each exhale you're lengthening the neck a little more. Until eventually you come down to the ground. Making it a nice, fluid, smooth transition. Inhaling to arch. Exhaling to flatten. Drawing everything into center, curling up. And then gradually, bit by bit, opening and unraveling, edging down. So your staggered release could be one of 3 sections, 4 sections, 5 sections. When you release down to the floor next, make that your last. Release the hands from behind the head, relax them by your arms. We'll take a couple of head rolls, just a little left and right, using the weight of the head to roll the neck. So not forcing the neck in any way, coming only as far as you're happy to come to. And when you next come through neutral, pausing there. And then bringing yourself back into that seated position where we started. Leaning back on the hands. We'll have a little test to see how far back that point is on the ceiling now. So lengthening through the chest and the chin, lifting, noticing any added mobility or reach of the head as you tilt back, going back up. So taking that a couple of times just to see if you have any extra added mobility to the movement of the lift and lower of the head. And then when you've gathered whatever information there is to gather, allow yourself to come into a slightly more seated position. Making any movements for your shoulders or your neck, rolling a little, turning the head from one side to another. Taking everything as comfortable as it can be.